So let's talk about Alphabet. You know, the massive company behind Google. It's honestly one of the most powerful companies in the history of the world. I mean, it shapes how we find information, how we talk to each other, even how we get from point A to point B. But behind all that power, there's some pretty big risks and some wild ambitions for the future. So today, we're going to unravel the story of this tech titan's walk on a very, very tight rope.
Okay, so what are you looking at here? 95.03%. What is that? Well, that is Google's slice of the entire worldwide mobile search engine market. Let that sink in for a second. That's not just dominance, that's practically a monopoly. It is the absolute foundation of their entire empire.
So that leads us to the big question, right? How did one company get so powerful? And maybe more importantly, what on earth could actually bring it down? That's what we're digging into. We're going to look at the incredible strengths that built this giant, but also all the cracks, the threats, and the wild bets it's making while it's walking that very, very shaky tightrope.
All right, so to really get a handle on where they are now, we got to go back to the beginning. Let's do a quick run-through of how Google went from just a project at Stanford to the global titan we know today.
Believe it or not, it all started back in '96 with a project that had a kind of funny name, BackRub. Yeah, just 2 years later, in '98, Google Inc. was officially born. Then you fast forward to 2004, the IPO happens, and suddenly they're a massive public company. 2008 was a huge year. They launched the Chrome browser, which was absolutely key to building out their whole ecosystem. And then, in 2015, they did this big shuffle, restructuring under a new parent company, Alphabet. This was a big deal because it separated the main Google moneymaker from all their crazier long-shot future projects.
Okay, so what's the secret sauce? What makes this company just so unbelievably strong? Let's break down the core strengths, the pillars that are holding up this whole empire.
I mean, just look at this. It's kind of wild. The gap here is absolutely staggering. Google isn't just winning the search engine race. They basically are the race. We saw that crazy mobile number earlier, but even on desktop, it's over 86%. The competitors, I mean, they're barely a blip on the radar. This right here is the bedrock. Everything else is built on this.
And this is how they lock it all in. This is brilliant, really. By controlling Android, the operating system on, almost 72% of all smartphones in the world, they make sure that Google Search, Chrome, and the Google Play Store are the first things you see. It's the default. It's a genius, self-feeding cycle that just keeps growing. So how do you stay on top? Well, it helps if you can just outspend everybody else. And they do. In 2020 alone, Alphabet dropped over $27 billion on R&D. That's not just a little more than their rivals, that's way more than Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook. This firehose of cash fuels nonstop innovation and helps them build one of the biggest patent collections on the planet. And here's the kicker. It's not just about one hit product. They're in the billion-user club, 7 times over. Android, Chrome, Gmail, Maps, the Play Store, Search, YouTube. Each one has more than 1 billion people using it every month. And the best part for them? They're all free. They're all amazing at what they do, and they all work together perfectly. It creates this incredible, sticky ecosystem that is just nearly impossible for anyone else to even try to copy.
But you know, even the biggest titans have an Achilles heel. So now, let's look at the other side of the coin, the internal weaknesses, the cracks in the foundation that really put Alphabet on that tightrope to begin with.
Wow. Okay, this really puts it in perspective. For all those billion-user products, for all the talk of self-driving cars and AI, at the end of the day, Alphabet is an advertising company. Plain and simple. Back in 2020, over 80% of their money came from ads. That is a huge dependency on just one source of income. It's like a stool with one giant leg and a bunch of tiny ones.
And here's the problem. That one giant leg is getting a little shaky. The amount of money advertisers are willing to pay for a single click, what's called cost per click, has been going down year after year. Now, they've managed to make up for it by just getting more and more clicks, but that's a really worrying trend. It puts a ton of pressure on their main moneymaker.
And it's not just the financials. The company is constantly fighting battles on other fronts. There's this endless stream of legal and ethical headaches. We're talking accusations of squashing competition, lawsuits over privacy, how they handle taxes, you name it. All of this stuff creates constant risk to their bottom line, and honestly, it's not great for their reputation either.
All right, so if the internal problems are cracks in the foundation, the external threats, those are the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. These are the things happening outside the company that could come along and just knock them right off that tightrope.
And hey, don't just take my word for it.
This quote comes directly from Alphabet's own report to its investors. They are the ones saying that governments are scrutinizing them more and more. And with massive antitrust lawsuits in the US and huge fines in Europe, yeah, this threat is about as real as it gets.
763 million. What's that? Well, that's how many devices were running ad blocking software a couple of years back. And you can bet that number is higher now. This is a direct assault on their entire business model. Remember that 80% of revenue coming from ads? Every single person who blocks ads is someone Alphabet can't make money from. That's a huge problem.
And finally, the last big threat is us, you and me, the users. People are getting smarter and, frankly, a little more creeped out about how their personal data is being collected and used. This puts Alphabet's most valuable asset, all that information about us, at risk. And when your entire business is built on data, that's not just a problem. That's a fundamental existential threat.
So, okay, they've got internal cracks, external storms. How in the world does a company this big plan to get off this dangerous tightrope? Well, they're doing it by placing absolutely massive bets on the future. They're desperately searching for a new foundation, one that isn't built on advertising.
And this is their official game plan. They literally call it other bets. Think of it as a whole collection of futuristic, ambitious businesses that they hope will become the next Google. The whole point of these bets is to break that dangerous dependency on ads by creating totally new ways to make money. Let's take a look at a few of the big ones.
First up, AI, artificial intelligence. This market isn't just growing, it's set to absolutely explode, rocketing past $500 billion by 2024. And Alphabet is right there at the front of the pack, with projects like DeepMind. They're positioning themselves to own this space and, hopefully, build new businesses that don't need to track your every click.
Next, we've got something called edge computing. The simple way to think about it is, instead of sending data all the way to some far-off cloud server, you process it much closer to where it's created, like right on your phone or in a smart car. Now, it's not a huge market yet, but look at that growth. It's expected to more than quadruple by 2025. This is a huge battleground for Google Cloud as it goes head-to-head with Amazon and Microsoft to build the future of computing.
And then there's healthcare. The money in wearable medical tech is just enormous and is projected to more than triple by 2027. So when Alphabet bought Fitbit, that wasn't just about fitness trackers. That was a huge strategic move to get a major foothold in this incredibly valuable market. It's a perfect example of an other bet, a long-term gamble in a massive industry that has nothing to do with ads.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Alphabet built an absolute empire on search and advertising, but now that very foundation is under attack from all sides. At the same time, they're pouring billions into these moonshot bets on the future. So the question is, will these bets create a new, stronger foundation, or is this Titan's dangerous walk on the tightrope really just getting started?